Recently, Negril has been getting more attention than ever before, with discussions in Parliament about multiple bypass roads coming into Negril, the Negril Aerodrome being converted into an international airport. Locals, tourists, and investors undoubtedly want a piece of this, and this may be something that you may be interested in as well. Though there are multiple commercial real estate properties for sale on this beach, there are also many other opportunities outside of this beach, particularly on the west end of Negril. Today we'll be presenting a slightly different real estate opportunity, unlike one we've ever had on this channel, a fixer-upper in Devine Destiny. We'll hear from one of the owners, James, as well as a Negril real estate expert in Mragit, Eder of Valerie, Levy and Associates. So join me today in learning about this 10.5-acre property on the west end of Negril. Hello Throppers, and welcome back to another real estate video. And if this is your first time visiting, a special welcome to you. This is part of our ongoing real estate series, and we have a special one. This is the first time I'm doing what I would call a fixer-upper property, and it's right here in my home base of Negril. We are here at Devine Destiny, which used to be one of the premier hotel properties in Negril. And yes, it has seen better days, but I also believe there is tremendous opportunity in this property as a hotel and also as something else. And we're gonna get into those ideas as we go along into this video. It's quite a large property. We're talking about 10 acres here. Can do a lot with it. And we're gonna be meeting with James, one of the owners of the property, to tell us a little bit about the history, where it came from, how did we get here, and also get some ideas and insights in terms of who he thinks the best type of investor or property owner can be for the future of Devine Destiny. So come on and join me. This should be a really fun one.
Welcome to the property.
Thank you.
Ready for a tour?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, let's go.
So James, thanks for taking the time out to show me around a little bit today.
You're welcome, man. We've been talking online quite a bit, and it's about time.
Yeah, here we are. So I understand this is your family's property.
Yeah, my family and my extended family, my extended Jamaican family.
Okay, and how long have you guys owned the property?
Since the early 90s. I mean, I would say 1990, I think construction began. My parents started coming down here in the 70s and just fell in love with the country.
So you used to come down here as a kid a lot, you were saying.
Yeah.
How often are we talking?
My parents used to pull me out of school for months at a time sometimes. Teachers hated it.
Oh, like during the school year?
Yeah, during the school year, we had to do what we had to do. You know, my parents just fell in love with this place and just wanted to be here all the time and wanted us to experience something different, you know, from the culture that we had back home.
And are your parents Jamaican?
No, not at all.
Really?
Actually, my dad's Hungarian and Dutch, and my mom is quite mixed, to be a long story.
Okay. And they were just like came down here for
They just came down here in the 70s and just fell in love with the place, you know?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And then so, how old were you when you first came to Jamaica?
Oh, apparently I was conceived here. But I mean, I don't tell that story. Okay. I mean, I guess we're on camera now. But...
No, that's so cool. So you're basically Jamaican then.
Come on, Guan, come on, Guan.
Yeah,
you know?
there you go.
So.
And then when did you get involved with the business?
Honestly, I was never really involved with the business. I mean, I used to come and go, and I used to bring groups of people down. I actually used to do party groups. I used to bring, you know, during spring break, the month of March, I would stay here for a full month and, you know, just have people coming and going from Montreal, you know, local schools and stuff like that. You know, when the spring break was in its heyday, you know, say in the 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s, like, you know, like MTV was here and like, yeah, it was crazy. So I did have some people coming and going and then, but that was about it, you know. Yeah, that was.
And then like here was like really popping back then, right?
Yeah, it was non-stop, like non-stop. I'd be here for a month and I don't think I slept, you know, more than 4 hours a night.
And you were telling me some pretty prominent people used to stay here and kind of like get away from it all kind of thing.
Name drop, but
right.
Yeah, some musicians, some big name musicians used to stay here because it was like kind of secluded. Yet still, you know, right on the strip kind of thing. So we'd have a lot of people come and go. And my parents' partners were also in the music business. They used to provide sound for a lot of the big shows and stuff like that. So, yeah.
With the property, it's obviously seen some better days.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, 9/11 hit. I think that was the first thing that really took its toll on the industry in this part of Negril at that point. And then not long after that, I believe the reuse started to be popping up on down the beach, and the all-inclusive sort of thing happened. And I think what happened is that people just stopped making it this far up into the West End. Tour groups started promoting it's not safe in Jamaica. It's sort of the tourist industry changed, I think, what happened, slowly but surely.
I don't think a lot of people realize this, Negril started here on the West End.
It did,
right?
It did. This street was full of vendors, t-shirt, bracelet, that type of thing. There was chicken guys up and down the road.
Right.
It was a different time back then. And actually, I mean, from what my parents tell me, they couldn't even get a room. Sometimes they'd come down here and have to stay in like 3 different hotels because the place was so busy and there just wasn't enough rooms, Right. But I mean, the industry changed. And,
No, I agree. I remember I wasn't in the business when 9/11 happened. I was a senior in high school. And I remember as soon as it happened, my dad already knew the world has changed forever. And he started just immediately trying to adjust our marketing strategies, and knew that people were going to stop traveling and stop coming to Jamaica. And then shortly after that, to your point, you had these larger foreign hotels starting to come in. And I remember, and I talk about this on my channel all the time, about the pricing that they were charging at the time. They were charging the same prices that we were per night. No, lower as a matter of fact. But you were getting all-inclusive food, all-inclusive alcohol. And I remember at the time there being a promise from the powers that be in Jamaica that wouldn't happen. They wouldn't be going after our market. And so, a lot of hotels didn't survive that, and also just couldn't compete with that. It's in many ways, I think it's remarkable that the small hotels that did survive both those double whammies, plus the financial crisis that happened shortly after that. It was a crazy, I would say, 10 to 13 years in the industry. So I completely understand, but now we're here, right? You guys, your family, your partners, you're ready to move on to the next phase of your lives, so to speak, and you're looking to give this opportunity to somebody else. And I'd like to hear a little bit more about the details of the property.
So in its heyday, we had, I believe, 50 plus rooms operational all at one time. 2 different dining rooms. We had a rec room in the back with pool, foosball, ping pong, whatever else. And we also have a sister property on the beach that we were running shuttles to and from the whole time.
Oh, that's awesome.
4 or 5 times a day, 6 times a day, whatever the guests wanted, Back then there was actually still beach property available, you have a place on the beach, how beach property is just slowly getting bought up by these resorts, right? It's slowly but surely just filling up, So this used to be one of 2 dining rooms.
Okay.
We used to do breakfast and lunch at the other end of the property, and then formal dining up here.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
It's kind of nice. We had several bars operating on the property. That was one of them, obviously. But
I mean, I could see it, you know what I mean? Even the swim-up pool bar I see you guys had there, the multiple bars, multiple restaurants, multiple dining spaces. Now, really cool concept. Your folks had vision,
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was their dream, and it's not mine. And here we are, I have my own business back in Montreal. My parents' partners' kids have their own things going, so that's where we're at right now. We're just sort of parents are all in their 70s, and we're just trying to move on, I guess.
Cool. And what do you think if somebody were an investor buys the place? What do you think they can turn this into, this space?
Wow, I mean, it's a huge property. So we have 10.5 acres, which is really unique on anywhere in Negril. I don't think there's any actual comparable property.
Don't think there is any, on the beach, on the cliff road, I do not think there is 10 acres that are together.
Exactly, with also this much infrastructure. Even though the infrastructure is in disrepair, it kind of feels like there's nothing comparable, you know? So I mean, you could do a lot with it. I mean, I don't know, luxury condos, luxury villas, gated community. You know, we have a huge space in the back that we can turn into a rec room, a gym, restaurant. You know, you can turn into almost anything really, you know? A retirement home. I think there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of undeveloped land from each corner of the property going all the way back, you know? It's just lush jungle, and it kind of rises up on the back of the hill, so you might even be able to get ocean view from there.
Everybody's seeing the drone shots right now as you're saying.
Okay, oh, yeah. Cool.
So like, cause I'm thinking like, so my two ideas are like, all right, you can go hotel again, right? If you go hotel, you can't dip your toe in it. Like you gotta go all in. Yeah. You're gonna do huge investment, modern accommodations, and you're gonna put a good amount of money, and this has to be, in my opinion, like its own oasis, where you don't need for anything else outside of this property. And of course, if you wanna go out and see other things, sure, but your basic fundamental needs of vacation and hoteling is right here. Yeah, exactly. And I think that could be beautiful.
Kind of like an all-inclusive type thing you're saying, right?
I would say, I wouldn't even
But not all-inclusive, but like secluded all-inclusive.
There you go, there you go, right? Just like you were saying earlier with like these prominent musicians that used to stay here. Like they were getting away from the hustle and bustle of maybe some other properties or the beach, and they have that intimacy and the privacy here. I also think you could do things like this, like things that are really trending and I think that are here to stay, which is a focus on health and fitness. And you have so much land here, you can do a farm, and you can do farm to table, and you can do tours of the farm and people going out and seeing where their fresh food is coming from and being cooked right in front of them. So like to me, if you're gonna go and double down in the hospitality, so to speak, like that's would be my idea in the direction to take this. But again, a lot of investment, but I also think you gotta know what you're doing. You know, you gotta understand like the global distribution system, modern marketing, the online travel agents, and I think really have those relationships established. So like once you make that investment here, you got the backhoes, you got the, you know, building the foundation, you're just ready to go right after that. And like the second idea that I had is kind of going along about what you're saying is just like completely different concept. Like maybe do the retirement homes, or like Negril is in a housing crisis right now, right? There's just not enough housing inventory here, especially modern inventory. And I think this is the perfect space to do something of that nature. Again, you're away, like it's a great asset in terms of location and being in Negril, like it's great, but it's also, people, like you were saying before, like they may look at it as a negative not being on the beach, but again, you got the privacy factor, right? And you got the space to put up, I mean, you could do hundreds of units here.
Yeah, as an investor, I mean, that's what we're looking at. Like, that's what we're hoping for, right? I mean, somebody comes up here and has a vision, can see something and execute it, you know, hopefully. Because it's a completely unique property, you know? And like you said, Negril's in a housing crisis, right? People, you know, they keep saying they can't make more land. Right?
There you go. Yeah, and this is a great space for that. This is one of two kitchens?
It's one of two kitchens, yes. This on the other side, and then at the other end of the property, there was a secondary kitchen. Yeah, so this was, I mean, the room's changed a little bit. There's been some upgrades and some change, not some upgrades, I suppose, more downgrades, but this used to be one of the nicest rooms in the hotel.
I like this so tall ceiling.
Yeah, tall ceilings.
And it has a kitchen as well. Nice.
And obviously the best view on the property, really. I mean, because this was the centerpiece of the property.
Right. And you can pretty much see everything from up here.
Yeah. And I mean, just try to picture it, you know, full of people, smiling, drinking,
right.
having fun. I mean, that's what it was. At that time, I mean, this was the best view of the property. This was the honeymoon suite. I think even in the 90s, we were charging something like 140 US a night for this suite, you know? Fully air conditioned, kitchenette, whatever, you know? When we weren't here, because when we were here, we were staying in it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, of course. Right, yeah.
So I could see everybody just kind of just hanging out at the pool, enjoying themselves, enjoying both the restaurants, right? And I notice you have rooms on both sides. So they got the views as well, looking in at the courtyard, so to speak.
These four turrets, which used to be on both sides, we had a fire in this building, and that's why the roof is different. Gotcha. So it was renovated, I believe, in 2017. We had a fire in 2011. You can actually look it up on YouTube, search it, Devine Destiny fire. Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. But each one of those turrets represents a 2-story suite that we used to also have, which were really, really nice. So you had an even higher view from up there.
And you were saying earlier too that the Western Hospitality Group took over the property at one point?
Exactly, so that's what happened. I mean, basically after the fire, we ran into some issues and we had to lease out the place at that point because, like I said, tourism was just on its way down in the West End, you know? Unless you had like a little niche market, you know, like some of the places on the cliffside do, I suppose. You know, we just weren't generating enough revenue to keep the place operational, so we had to lease it out to the Western Hospitality Institute, anyway, whatever, hospitality school.
Right.
And they sort of took the place over, and then COVID came in 2019, and I think they ran into some problems. And that's one of the main reasons why the place is in such disrepair. I mean, just because, you know, they couldn't hold up their end of the bargain because of COVID also.
I mean, the good thing is you guys have clean title, like Mragit had mentioned that, like everything is good to go, and I've done
surveyed, we're ready.
Right.
We're ready for an investor, we're ready for a buyer.
And I think that's huge. That's really, really huge, and it just will make the buying process that much more seamless. I also noticed like a lot of people, not a lot, but you have people living here and that you're renting out space in the meantime.
Actually spill over from the hospitality school, so there's a lot of kids, and I mean we didn't kick them out, you know.
Right.
We took the place back, and like as if we're gonna start chasing people off the property,
Right.
you know, like, you know, everything kind of happened all at once, I guess. Not all at once, but you know, there's still people living here.
Okay.
So for the time being, you know, we've got about 4 or 5 rooms that are still occupied, and that's that.
No, that's good. Some people would have just kicked those people out and then good luck.
Not that kind of person.
Right, exactly.
We're not that kind of people.
Exactly,
you know.
exactly.
So we're hoping that they find, you know, they were students here, so they're trying to find employment. So I'm like, look, you can stay here as long as you know, are looking for employment and looking to move to, you know, they're here to try to better themselves. So I'm not going to stop them from doing that.
Awesome. That's awesome. And also with the listing, how long? We're going to talk to Mragit about this, but how long have you had the property listed for sale?
It has not been listed.
It's not listed.
It's not listed yet.
Okay.
It's not listed yet. This is first. We're on the ground floor.
You guys hear that first? You're hearing it right here. Okay. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, you know, by the end of this month.
Okay.
We're going to be listed and live, and you know.
Man, James, I want to thank you for taking the time out.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible story, man. Good luck with everything. Hey, funny seeing you here.
Yes. What a coincidence.
What a coincidence, as they say. So Mragit, this is a special one.
Yeah.
We've done a few properties before, nothing like this. This is without a doubt, it's a fixer-upper. This is not something turnkey, which is properties that we've done before.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you think?
I think it is a challenge. It is very interesting. It is a great investment for the right person.
Yes.
That's my opinion about it.
Okay.
Very different.
Who do you think the right person is for this property?
Right person is somebody who really has an eye for the investment that could happen here. Because the vendors, as everybody can see, it's a hotel, but the vendors are not really selling it as a hotel. They sell it as an investment, and one really important point is that the property is like 10 acres. 10 acres in the middle of Negril, and the hotel or the building, 60 rooms. I mean, that's a size that you find nowhere else, unless you go very deep west.
Right.
And I think this is very attractive for some of the things that we were talking about, like residential housing, apartments, condos. There's enough space to do some more building here on top of fixing this place up or changing it, turning around. So it has to be somebody who has the means and the energy and the vision to see what can happen to this place.
No.
And it's interesting. For me, it's a challenge, and I really like to sell it. And I want to see the right person get it.
Right, and I think that the right person is the right way that we're thinking about it, because even when you first told me about this property, you're like, hey, hear me out. and this is not like what we've done before in the past.
Yes.
The approach that we've taken, I think, in presenting it to the Throp community is, like, and I told you before we even hit record or we even agreed to do this, is that we got to present it as it is. And we're not hiding anything, and we're presenting this information, we're presenting this opportunity.
Yes.
And who knows, who will see this and we're like, all right, I've been looking for this exact property, and hey, we want to do this. And so with that, a big important part of us presenting this opportunity is, like, we want, like you said, the right person. And for me, I have a vested interest in a sense of bringing, I think, people who have progressive mindsets into our Negril community, because it's such a small community. Yeah. And we want people who see this as a huge opportunity that can also change and advance the community. And you had mentioned this before, but what do you think, in a little bit more detail, like, what do you think somebody can turn this into and turn it around into?
In my mind, I mean something like a big hospital, or something like a recreation center, something like retirement, something like apartment buildings. I mean, there's so many options.
What do you think is missing in Negril that this could possibly turn into?
What I think is something like a rehabilitation center, like when people get surgeries and then they come out and they need physical therapy.
So medical tourism.
There's nothing here. So I know that some people go to Cuba for their hip replacement. I went to Germany because you come back from Cuba, you don't get no therapy. It still takes forever until you can walk again. And I think something like this is really missing in Jamaica. But that's only one option. There are a lot more.
Right.
But this is what comes to my mind. Or it could be an entertainment center with a nice cafe, some boutiques around. I mean, all kind of things. Even some big supermarket could come in here, because that's also what we do not have in Negril. A really big supermarket, lots of options.
Gotcha.
Just has to be the right person who sees, okay, I have 10 acres here, I have the main building, what can I do to make that a success story?
Right.
That's what we need.
And now we understand that this is, we'll call it a diamond in the rough. We understand that this needs some work. How much are we talking here?
Well, we were listed at 3 million, and I would say it will be another 3 million to fix up the place.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because there's some and plus if you want to rebuild something, like the rooms, turn the rooms into apartments, that might cost more money. So I would say 3 mil.
Okay.
To get the place back up. And then you would have the hotel back. But as I said, we do not only market that as a hotel, we market that as an opportunity for someone who sees the potential.
I see. And now 3 million for 10.5 acres on the West End. I think it's important to bring that number into context.
Yes.
And with that, if you could give us some information on any comp sales or even properties that are for sale now, just give us a little stats on that so we can have some context and perspective on what that is.
I can give you a very up-to-date example, like one hotel that is like the next road, parallel road. So we're talking about almost the same location, 17 rooms, not even 1 acre. Was listed at 1.9 million one time, then it was lowered to 1.3 million, and now it's under offer. So let's just say that one is 1 million with not even 1 acre and 12 rooms compared to this place here, then the price that we're asking is reasonable. Taking into consideration 50% off for renovation, for fixing the place back up.
Gotcha.
That is one example. Another example would be in the West End on the other side, also not oceanfront. The place has 12 rooms, 1 acre, and it's under offer now at $500,000. So 1 acre, this is 10 acres. The land alone would be 5 million. So I think the prices are okay. And I mean, the oceanfront properties, there was just this 3-acre property sold for 3.5 million, 3.8 acre. Right across from the street here.
It's on
3.8 acre, but it's on the ocean.
Oh,
so you
okay.
cannot really compare it. And overall, you cannot really compare that property to nothing in Negril. That's why it's so interesting for me, because it is huge. It was like a #1 spot in the days. Actually, I had breakfast with my tourists when I just started in Negril.
Oh, yeah?
I had breakfast with my tourists in here before we started the tour in 1993. So I have a personal kind of connection to this place. And I thought it would be really interesting to see what people can make out of what is there.
Any other properties for sale or recent sales that you want to tell us about before we move on?
Well, these are the two ones that are just in progress, under offer, both of them. And another hotel that was sold last year. This is also an example. What I see in Negril is that a lot of older places are bought up. People put a lot of money in it and make it a success story. Can I mention a name?
Yeah, please. I was going to ask you. Can you actually tell us the names of these properties? That would be great.
Like the Spa Hotel.
Yeah.
Look at the Spa Hotel. I mean, that was like, what was it called? Love Cottages or something. The Canadian owners bought it, built it up. It has only 17 cottages, I think, 3 acres. I would have to look in my book to be really exact, but approximately 3 acres, and it was sold now at $5.3 million US. So what I see is that people here in Negril are buying up properties that have been neglected, are not in operation again or whatsoever, and turn it into a moneymaker and get a #1 on TripAdvisor. Yeah.
So that was like my next question is what do you see trending in like for Negril? And we can go as big or as narrow as you'd like. And what do you see happening in real estate, and particularly the commercial real estate space in Negril, like happening now and also in the future?
Commercial real estate, you're talking about a hotel, an apartment, something like that?
I would say yes.
Well, I think that the all-inclusive hotels, like John Wayne was already mentioning, all-inclusive hotels are very popular because people feel safe there, which is right, but then again, you do not really get to know Jamaica. So that's the downside of it. But people want to stay in there because it's convenient, they feel safe. And the same thing goes for what people are buying here. They prefer condos in a gated community, houses in gated communities, land in gated communities. So at the moment, gated community is #1. That's what's happening in Negril.
I see. And there's a lot of, I would say, activities that are happening on the outskirts of Negril, on the bookends that we hear about, not only hear about, that is actually taking place and boots on the ground, so to speak.
Yes.
And how do you think that that type of activity is going to affect Negril and the real estate market in Negril?
To be honest, I don't think so, because I think Negril is a specific place where people have entertainment, they have the beach, they have everything.
Right.
The outside places, people may buy it because it's brand new, they find it interesting, they're looking maybe for something more relaxed place, like the South Coast or whatever. But I personally do not believe that way outside Negril, that's going to be successful. Negril is growing, it grows all the way to the deep west, and it grows like into Sheffield and Little London. Probably in 20 years from now, we will have buildings and whatever until Little London, and it's still Greater Negril, something like that. But I think totally outside, like more than hour drive, is not gonna be the hit unless it's Montego Bay again. That's a different thing. But the outside places, and people say, yeah, but then we want it quiet, but then they live in the place for 2 years and then they come and they're like, oh, we should have bought something in Negril because we are closer to the beach, the driving is too much, there's nothing going on, there is no restaurant in the places where we are. That's the points. So I personally think that Negril is just the place and will always be the place. And that's why 10 acres in almost the middle of Negril, just leaving Negril going to the west end, is amazing. Shortly before Rick's Cafe, so anyone who has potential to invest, do it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you, Mragit, for taking the time out for telling us about the
Thank
property.
you so much to look at the property.
Of course,
yes.
Of course. And so if people want more information on the property
Yes.
and maybe even considering investing,
Yes,
how can they
please
contact
do.
you? How and where can they contact you?
Well, my address is Mragit at vlarealtors.com. Telephone number 876-290-1581.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mragit. $3 million, 10.5 acres. You heard it here first. As I opened with, I told you this was a special property. This is something that we've never done before, showing up a clear fixer-upper. Obviously, this is not for everybody, not for every investor, but it is still an opportunity that I wanted to bring to you. I want to say and give a big shout out to Mragit for giving us the time to show us the property, as well as James. And this was a good one. This hopefully brings an education to everybody in terms of bringing context to real estate in Jamaica, but also real estate specifically here in Negril. And like I said, this may not be for you, but at least you can pin this property against something that you may be considering, or maybe other properties that you're looking at, both commercial and also residential. Perspective, I think is important here. A big shout out to our channel members and also our Patreons. I really appreciate your support. That really does allow us to continue to do videos like this, and of course bring as much investment and real estate value as we possibly can to you, our subscribers here on the Thrive channel. Peace.